So I came across a video today from world-famous philosopher Peter Singer discussing the types of dilemmas people tend to use to criticize utilitarian morality. And there was one person in the comments who seemed like they were criticizing or scoffing or just calling the guy out for refusing to answer the dilemma that he was discussing. So I wanted to explain why these dilemmas that get brought up against utilitarian morality just don't really work out and why they don't get the kind of responses that the presenters of these dilemmas are hoping for. So let's take a look at the clip and then I'll explain why these dilemmas fall flat on their face.
The mob is about to string up half a dozen African Americans and lynch them because a white woman says that she was raped by an African American, but you can't identify the person who raped her. You could claim that you have evidence that one of them is the person who committed the rape. In fact, you have no such evidence. But that's the only way in which you can bring about a situation in which only one person dies rather than six. So the utilitarian answer would seem to be, that's what you ought to do.
So I've noticed that most of these dilemmas that are raised against utilitarian morality usually consider no more than one or two cascading effects resulting from their decisions' limitations. And actually, they rarely even consider any potential consequences at all if they go even one layer deep into what could happen as a result of making the best of the bad situation that they're getting stuck in. This type of dilemma only seems problematic if you are dealing with those dilemmas in a vacuum in which no other fallout occurs. Also, these dilemmas also kind of heavily depend on the fact that they're sticking you into a situation where there's no real good outcome either way. So you're sticking a utilitarian into a concept where you're saying, hey, nothing good is going to come out of this, so what is the right answer? And, well, the right answer is that there is no good answer, and we're just going to have to hope that the decision that we come up with results in the greatest good possible. When I have to answer these types of dilemmas that other people might raise against utilitarian morality, they are often irritated by the fact that I tell them that they haven't even come close to providing me with enough information on the issue to create an effective utilitarian decision. And that is perhaps the only weakness that utilitarian morality has. It is entirely dependent on the person who is making the decisions to be intelligent and well-informed. And really, that isn't even a weakness of utilitarian morality itself. That's really more a criticism of our human capacity to utilize utilitarianism. So you could make a reasonable criticism that stupid people need effective utilitarian authorities to set ground rules, but I would argue that that is exactly the moral system that believers in strict moral laws abide by, because many, if not most, believe in an omniscient God of some sort who designs rules for humanity. And if you question those people about how they think God makes moral discernments, they begin to discuss a conceptual view of morality rather than a rules-based view of morality, and voila, they have then arrived at some form of a theological utilitarianism. The most common response I receive from Christians when asked for an explanation of this issue is that God makes moral laws in accordance with his morally perfect nature. And to that I would say, sure, that seems reasonable enough, but how would you describe his morally perfect nature? What about his nature is so good? Do you think it's just a coincidence that the moral laws you abide by generally result in cumulative well-being for most people affected by your actions? Is it just a coincidence that the fruits of the Spirit are also behaviors that contribute to well-being for both you and others? It seems quite clear to me that most of the everyday values promoted by most religions are aiming to accomplish the similar goal that utilitarianism aims to accomplish as well. But of course, that begs the reasonable question that if God promotes a form of utilitarianism, at least to some extent, why did he create strict moral rules? And remember what I previously said about the main weakness of utilitarianism. It is dependent on the information and intelligence of the person attempting to use it. So therein lies your answer, friends. The reason your God does not fully promote utilitarian values is probably because he understands that many of us do not have the competence or information necessary to use it in many situations.